Of course, you have to add your creativity in that and then present it to the world. However, I think there are opportunities that we get where we have to present our own film. And when we are trying to set up a studio, we wanted to think about what is that we want to present to the world. We are thinking about, jargons and slogans. And we told ourselves that, create this bringing breathtaking stories and characters to life from India to the world. So we are a 1.4 billion people world. We have stories, characters, traditions, everything that we have. How do we take that and add a global storytelling sentiment and put it to the world? So none other than Star Wars had this opportunity, and we were able to do that. I hope people watch. It plays on Disney Hotstar. Let's take a look at a quick trailer of the film.
Where are we?
We're almost there.
Can we go home now?
You kids shouldn't be wandering too far from home. These are dark times.
We are entering the Jangori settlements.
No.
The Jangoris are here.
All of this for some sweets?
Burnt them all.
Leave them alone.
A Jedi in golak.
We should have fought back.
So we call it Bandits of Golak. So this is also named as a story. So golak means goal and lok. Thank you. So we use this. So there is a story about bandits. We have to think about different inspiration that we do. But before that, we had to study Star Wars. So Star Wars is, it has inspired us, generations from generation, everybody from, grandfathers to grandkids. Everybody knows about it. But for a studio like us from India, and if you have to create that, we had to really, really understand what the Star Wars, what are the basic elements that went in creating this Star Wars. So there's a little bit of AV about Star Wars. We all know, but let's just watch it. You have Jedi, you have Inquisitors, you have Star Troopers. So this particular film is part of something called as Visions. So Visions is animation anthology Lucasfilm came up with. The first vision was the anime short that were predominantly done in Japan, and the second was they wanted to see how Star Wars has influenced cultures and geographies. And of course, there was Cartoon Saloon, Aardman, and studios from all around the world, and we had this opportunity. And I knew somebody, and I should share a small sales story here. And we said, hey, that's great. Can we create our own story? It was like, what? This is Star Wars, and this is for global. I said, yeah, but look, this is India. We have our version of Star Wars. I just made it up. Give us an opportunity to create this. And they said, no, it's not going to be possible. I said, look, we are a country of 1.4 billion people. We have cultures, traditions, colors, stories. That we have to do it. They still did not listen to it. And I used this word, and I just said it funnily. I said, look, Jackie, you have to understand this. We are this 1.4 billion people. If at a point of time, we just stop and start dancing, the earth is going to tilt. And you have to give us that opportunity. I don't know if this threat worked or the belief worked, and that's where we started. So the first part, so there are going to be 5 or 6 parameters I'm going to go through. The first part that comes is the story. So we had to figure out a story that resides in this Star Wars world. So we just had this first simple tagline that pursued by the ferocious Inquisitor. Anyways, a boy running on a train and chased by Imperial army. That was an idea of a story we had. So we went about creating a sibling dynamics in the story. And when we're doing that, we did this first whiteboard exercise. So we just thought ourselves, what are these things that we can bring in our story? So, you have Indian heritage, architecture, apparel, colors, spices, markets, train, music, Bollywood. So we thought, are there elements of these pillars that we can integrate in our story once we have a baseline? With that, we went and we thought Bollywood, and let's look at Bollywood. And what other than the film that comes to the mind is Sholay. So Sholay and Star Wars came around 1976, 77, same time. Both are inspired by this Akira Kurosawa films. So we had to go back and study, and is there a Sholay element exist here? So we took Sholay and we looked at Indiana Jones, and then we thought there is something that we have here. So our film has a huge train chase sequence, which we have it in Sholay. Then we went around, and then we thought about creating our first artwork. So this is our first artwork that we presented to Star Wars. And when they looked at it, they were like, what is this exactly? This is an animation film you have to do. I said, yeah, but it's a big train chased by these dacoits, but they were not dacoits. They're chased by this particular tribe. And then there are Imperial Army chasing them, and you have a boy running on this train. That's our set piece. That's our film. I was like, wow, this sounds interesting, but what does it even mean? But this is the first image that we created, our art director created in-house, and we presented to them. Then we thought about, now that we have in India, we have to look at this as an international film. What are the other films are there that can be inspired? So we went around and looked at some other films. And there are some other films that we took inspiration from. There's a scene in Lord of the Rings about Frodo. We had some scene like that in film, so we went and studied that. There is in Inglourious Bastard, the kind of villain that we have, and I'll talk about in a bit. We studied that part of it. Then we went around and we looked at furthermore references from some other films, which has this, we have this unique, there's something called as Cantina Brawl. There's a fight that happens in, so we looked at that. There's a tense moment in this particular film we had. We thought, let's take inspiration out there. And then we went further, and in the last scene, we have a fight, which is a slow-mo fight. So we went and studied this Sonic scene, which is in a slow-mo, food flying everywhere. So what we wanted to do is, while we're taking pride from our story, we wanted to see what are the references of the film that are done that can inspire us. Once that was done, we had to create a second artwork. So this one is basically the last fight happens in a restaurant. And we thought, what other than we create a dhaba, right? All of us know dhaba. Dhaba is a roadside restaurant. So we created this scene, and I think they really like it. What we gave in this scene is this combination that all of us know. But for the Western world, it's a restaurant with different color settings and different neon lights, and we added this courts, we added this things that all of us have seen. But for a Western audience, they were like really, really interesting. Once we had that, can you play next? Typically, storytelling, we had to learn, we had to talk to a lot of people, and we figured out, do we have an arc for the film that is giving us a full story? That it starts with the children, the siblings that's running, and then they are going to find something called as a temple, which is a refuge, and then do they find a new home? Once we have that, I thought we had a great film. Then we went about thinking, do we have add cliffhangers? Do we have tense moment? And then we thought we need to add tension. And we need to add crisis in this. So we figured, and we looked at a different kind of a crisis, that is there an internal crisis? Is there an external crisis? And end of the day, the philosophy is that, does the Force even exist? That's the question we wanted to have, because until the end, the sibling do not know, are they going to be saved? Is this going to be Jedi? And is she going to be saved by some force, which they all believe in? And that's how we had, as we figured out a story. So I wanted to play this small clip. So once the story was figured out, we just thought about, let's look at a visual inspiration. And there are different styles we all know of filmmaking in a 3D animation film that we have, which is essentially, you have realistic 3D, traditional 2D, painterly, hybrid, automation. And we thought, what do we exactly want to put it out there? Because it's an opportunity to put a story and put some kind of a visual. And then we thought, let's take this hybrid traditional painting approach. But while we are doing that, even there we had to add something else. So we thought about, let's go back and look at the oil paintings that are done. But while we looked at our own Raja Ravi Verma and some of the famous painters, we thought how Western artists or painters have looked at India and how they have painted that. And once we had that, we had these three painters that we were inspired by, and we decided that our film is going to be a painting coming to life. So if you pause at any frame, you can take it print, ignore the motion blur sequences, but you can take a print and it's actually a painting. That was our motto. So the first painter was by this Edwin Lodwigs. What we really like is some of the patterns and the brushstroke that they have. Now it's a very realistic kind of thing, painting, but there are certain artifacts like how he has painted the backgrounds and how we've got this, some of the clothing pattern. We took some reference of that. We went to the second artist, and the second artist was, gave us some things about, if you see, this has more colors there. There's a green, there's blues, and how they are put it together. So we thought there's a very interesting way this particular painter has done. Once we had that, we went to the third painter because it's a Star Wars film. It has to have metal. So how do you get metal in the film? And it's a CG film. You have to have metal. You have to have something. And then we really inspired. This was a very inspiration for us where a metal is painted, but it still looks like a metal. Once we had this, we had our film. And, of course, we went about doing a lot of variation in that. So this is how we went about a visual approach. And once we had that, we had to create our first location. So our first location is nothing. It's a film based in Rajasthan with a huge train like Sholay running, and it is running in Chambal Ki Ghati. So while we have to get Chambal Ki Ghati, how do we make it interesting? So, you typically pass through from, some of the places in Rajasthan. You have these huge structures. You have these huge forts. And when you're going, you just feel so belittled. So we wanted to get this hugeness of that scale, and we wanted to design this. So we called this tribe as Jangori, and this was our first art piece. So it's a combination of 2D paintings and something done in Blender. But our art director came up with the first art piece about, just getting this, the entire settlement and the train running through this. So we are able to represent scale. We are able to represent some kind of a geography, which is very interesting. When this was happening, particularly for me and a couple of other, was that we watch Mandalorian, and I always thought about if the Mandalorian plane has to land or a spaceship has to land in India, how would it look like and what would it be? And there was some thought process was going on that. So we had this thing, and typically we went about doing a research. I wanted to show this artwork as to what all we referred to when we were doing that. The clothing pattern were very interesting, and the caves, we have caves and we have this pattern. So in that screen, there are actually settlements out there where this tribe is staying, and their job is when the Imperial Army comes, you have to go attack the Imperial Army and do, loot the train. That is essentially the feel that we wanted to have. Let me just quickly show you some visuals about how we went about creating this settlement. So we took this, we laid it out, we made the beat sheet, went to Blender, put together the geometry, and got the cameras and saw if the cameras are working, if the tension is adding according to the story. And the visuals are great, so we wanted to show that. The second one was the flea market. So this was kind of like really inspiration. If you go anywhere, and we have this typically, you go to Goa, or you go to Rajasthan, you go to Northeast, you go to Delhi, anywhere, you have this flea market. And flea market, we have these memories. So in our story, we wanted to integrate this flea market, and a secret aspiration was that if Star Wars ever has to find an Indian flea market, how would that look like? So we went about and just did a first artwork. So we took, that's a typical market, and we took, because our location right now we're considering is north, somewhere in Rajasthan, so we took that architecture, we added with all the elements, and added a little bit of a Star Wars version there. And this was our first artwork, and we gave it to them, and they really liked it. They liked the color, they liked the shape. And how it went about, how it came in final 3D is this. This is actually directly 3D render. In film, the flea market was actually a much bigger story, but we thought as a filmmaker, we fell in love when we created a longer one. We had to edit and made it really strong. But it's a very interesting art piece that we had. I wanted to share it with you. So these are some of the artworks that we had into the flea market. And the last one is dhaba, right? So we were very, very clear that our fight happens, the final fight has to happen in dhaba. And all of us have these dhaba memories. And we had to get that and wanted to show it to the world. For the first time, something called as an Indian dhaba. A cantina brawl happens, and it has to happen in our Indian dhaba. So we did, again, a simple whiteboard exercise. And, went around Google, found some images and some of the things that we like and elements that we like, colors, patterns, shapes, props, such as, you have these squats, you have this nice decorative galichas, and you have hookahs. We wanted to get all that possible into the film. And then with that, when we try to create, this was the artwork, first artwork we did. This is more of a 2D, 3D concept process we did to see if this is working, and it is a night scene. So the light source has to be those neon lights that you use. Light source has to be some of the, the nameplates that they had, and also very, very simple light source such as the lamp that we use in dhaba. So that was our art piece. And let me show you some of the images of how we went about creating this. So typically this was there on the left side. If you see, we used temple as a structure, but we didn't want to use temple because it's not a religious film. But we wanted to inspire that and make a kitchen kind of an architecture. On the left screen, left, you see there's also a step well. So this step well concept really fascinated us, and we thought, let's add step well. And not only we added it, but our final scene in the film, we used that step well approach. And a lot of, when I was present in this film in US and UK, and a lot of people were asking, they found that very, very interesting as a step well, as a concept, which worked really, really well. There are some of the visuals. I want to show you how the final kitchen the dhaba landed up coming up. We had our names in Devanagari, but Starwars has strict rules about they have their own nameplates and board. So of course we had to use that. Once we had figured out everything, a story was there in place. We had some location, we had some design, and now we had to design characters. In the end, it's all about the characters. Our hero of the story is this young boy who has to take his sister to the safety. And he is a reluctant hero. He is an accidental hero. So we want to get that. And the first image that we came up with, he's a Rajasthani boy. So we typically had, so before that, so these are some of the 5 characters we had. We have a brother, and then we have a sister, younger sister, and we have this inquisitor. Can we move to next? Yeah, so this was the first design that we came up with. We thought, love it. Yeah, this is so great, so nice. We're going to put our Rajasthani man into Star Wars world. Yeah, but that's an inspiration. So we can't exactly do that because those color palettes is too heavy. Embroideries were too heavy. But this was an inspiration for us to start, and we wanted to get some kind of Indian face. And then once we had this as a hero, as a base drawing, we went to the girl. The girl is an interesting character. She's actually the main hero in the story. She's a young, innocent girl. She is force sensitive. Very innocent, very bubbly. She doesn't know what happens. So we had to get that. Eyes were a very, very important part of it. So we went about, doing some research about that. Then the next one was the Rugal. Now, this particular character is inspired by this. In Rajasthan, there is this tribe called Kalbelia. So these Kalbelia women they are kind of musicians. They are very black. They wear all the black costumes. They have great tattoos all over the face, and they have this heavy jewelry. Very, very mysterious. They don't speak much. They travel from one place to another. Great inspiration point. We thought if our Rugal, we called her, if the Jedi, she's a Jedi, if she gets into this, we should have it. And that's how our Rugal, this one came up with. And then when we had this, finally the character landed up looking like that. Of course, we had to change the color palette. One rule they had, Star Wars does not have buttons. So they told that you can't have buttons. So you can't have like certain type of jewelry. Fair enough. But the inspiration started from there, and this is what Charuk came up with. This is what Rani came up with. And then Rugal. So Rugal, if you see, she has these tattoos and everything on her face. We wanted to add this little mystery, scary feel, but she's just a nice old woman, old Jedi who wanted to protect the kid. Now, Inquisitor. So everybody has different scene in different Inquisitors. If we, as a studio from India, or an Indian film has an opportunity to create an Inquisitor, we went and we said, look, we want to create our own Inquisitor. And they said, that's great. Let's do that. And that landed up becoming the most famous character in this anthology. So we went to our mythology. in our mythology, we have everything about good and bad. And, we went and studied this Asuras. So we wanted to inspire, we wanted to take inspiration from Asuras for Inquisitor. Who are Asuras? So Asuras is typically, they have green eyes, they have big mustache, they have this gold armor, and, very red face. They are very, very lethal, very, very evil, but they're very smart war strategists. So we wanted to get that feel into that, and then we design our characters according to this. So this is our Inquisitor that we landed up getting. So we use all the characteristics of mustache, and this was a big challenge because you see this, putting a golden armor was a very, very bold thing to put in the Star Wars world. But it really worked, and you'll see some clips of that. Then next, there are some ancillary characters. So this is the warrior tribe that we had called Jangoris. So we thought, let's use something. So we went and used Kathakali mask. It's a great Kathakali mask in itself is a great accessory. And it looked very, very cool, and it kind of gave them a very menacing kind of feel. And that's how we went designing about that. We went to we wanted to create this merchant tribe. Now, merchant tribes, there are these different aliens kind of characters that exist in Star Wars world. So we took those characters, and then we gave them this cool Indian-looking dressing into that, and that's how this came up. We went and then designed, this is one scene was there about a musician. We wanted to create a musician. He just has barely like one scene and no dialogue, but became very interesting character. Then the opportunity was to create a horse, but horses do not exist in Star Wars. But we thought we have to go and give justice to having something as camel because it's from Rajasthan. So we took a horse and we took camel and we created this new tribe called Tungar. So these are and that's how we mainly went about the design process of getting these characters to life. Now, this is what we do for bread and butter. We really take pride in doing serious animation. Our animation is about acting performances. So we give a lot of emphasis on acting. Manish Kumar, our head of animation, who's here, we do really great animation. And we wanted to make sure how do we get that in the film where characters are coming to life in a way we always wanted to. And there's a little bit of a process without talking too much about it. I wanted to just show you a process of how we go about it.
Was you tough?
Sweet and plunder.
The bandits right for?
Feast and wonder.
So you see the last scene, right, where they were trying to do this. We had a lot of different takes. And one of the take, and our animation supervisor and the lead landed up just doing very impromptu actions, and they came up with this action. And this action became very symbolic, and somewhere in Star Wars also they felt that this is very, very unique, offers the infinity symbol, puts a relationship. Now, sometimes these things can come up in animation, and that's one of the examples we have. Now we have everything. So voice is the most important part of it. So how do we do this, cast this voice acting, where we had to have Indian talent, but have global experience, and at the same time, the hero is that he's a hesitant hero. So we want to get this kind of a texture and voice quality in a hero who represents that. And because the hero is also an elder sibling, and is there a chemistry? Does he understand what is being elder sibling? So we went about casting, doing this casting. This was Suraj Sharma, Sonal that we use, and this is Neeraj Kabi, and he has done a great job. And
I've done animation before, and it's always been fun, but there's a certain emotional truth and emotional rootedness to this project, which I love. I am an eldest brother. I take care of my siblings all the time, and slowly you realize that your siblings are, in some regards, more capable than you.
Final warning, you maggots. I feel like she's getting too angry for a Jedi, you know? Yes, it should be more threatening than angry. Yes, exactly. Final warning, you maggots. Yes, I was going to. This path is only meant for you. No need to fear. There are others like you here.
You'll have to let go of her now. You know this is the only way to keep her safe, don't you?
Final warning, you maggots! Final warning, you maggots! Sorry, I felt like laughing.
So this particular character, I want to take a minute and talk about it. So, sometime you decide how your film is going to be. You decide the characteristics and you decide how they want to. And the voice-over actor can come and completely change it. And this is a perfect example. So Neeraj Kabi is a very famous theater actor. At a point of time, he used to do even animation acting classes for a lot of people. So when our villain was a very serious one. He is your Asura meet the Second World War villains from films like Schindler's List and Inglourious Bastard. But when Neeraj Kabi started to do voiceover, he added a little bit of wittiness to it. He added a little bit of humor to it. And then we were not sure what to do. But when we took some of the cuts and we put it back, and then we realized, I think we have a great villain where he's menacing, he is dangerous, he's lethal, but he is witty. He goes around, takes his time, he's a little bit chatty. And then once he's ready, he goes for his attack. And great example of how character animation and character can completely change just by a voiceover.
How peculiar. My troopers haven't eaten all day either. These scavengers tell me of a girl they saw in the train with unusual paws.
Never seen children in a place like this. Nowhere to hide now. Nowhere to hide now. Nowhere to hide now.
Music is very, very essential part of our culture, and we wanted to make sure that how do we get really authentic music and put it in the film. So we have this, there's a young musician, a very, very talented musician called Sneha Khanvilkar, and we got her to do the music. So she went about she toured the country and went about, collecting a lot of old instruments that are obsolete, and then add that, put together. So I wanted to keep this just short, but give you an idea of it.
Okay. That's it.
Let's take a pause here. So, you saw this, that's a vuvuzela, right? We use that instrument to give a war cry. And that, in a film, it became really, really, so all these horses are, it's like a Game of Thrones scene where that, I forget his name, he started marching. And that was a great moment. And the film, they created a really great music. Everything is done. And we went to Skywalker Ranch in San Francisco, and we were mixing the film and, doing the colors. And then we thought, like, this is not working. There has to be some kind of a war cry, something unique. And we're not sure what is it. And I thought about, I said, look, there is some memory that comes to my mind. I had attended one Bengali wedding, or something. And then there was this woman, they make this noise, right? And which was very unique. And I said, I think I need that. And we started doing this references from internet, but we couldn't get the sound. So, this is the other guy's, my partner, his name is Abhichan. So we made him a voiceover actor, and we just asked him to shoot that. And we literally took that 5 variation. I made sure his life got completely miserable by the end of that. And we used that, but it became a very, very unique war cry. Listen to that. It's funny. Sometimes you have fun while making fun. So I have to give him royalty for this session. The one interesting last part is about creating the fight of Golak, right? So this is Star Wars. There is lightsaber. There are people fighting. But if it's just a fight, then how are we different? And we wanted to add our own unique sense to it. So we have this age-old martial art form, Kalaripattu. So we wanted to add that into our story. So we went and did a lot of research. We met some artists. We shot them. And we wanted to get this Kalaripattu art into our file. Because what you have is, can you play this? What you have is a very...
Leave them alone.
You dim-witted crone. Stop wasting my time.
Boards, we could not get a lot of fight scene exactly because we could just get a timing. But then how do we go about getting those exact moments is what we were studying. This is the traditional fights that all of you have seen. This is what we wanted to bring into the film. So this fight became very, very interesting. Thank you. I really take pride in putting to the world because the fight got a lot of applause wherever we played the film. Everybody was asking, where did you get that? That's a badass Jedi moving this, lightsaber and doing that. And we know there's an actor called Vidyut Jamal. We talked to him. He's a seven generation Kalaripattu expert. So there are people who are really, really practicing hard. We're very, very happy doing that. Everything is great, film is done, and we finished the film. And we did all this Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and then we had this I think we want to end it differently because Star Wars is all about emotions. You have to find that last thing for the audience to take away from the film. And we were struggling, and then particular idea came out. It comes with a lot of personal experiences, even I had, because where sometimes sacrifices can be beautiful. And in the end, he had to let his sister go. And can that be a sweet ending? So we changed the ending in the last 3 months of a production. Want to show something?
Me and Ishan were very clear from the day one that let's find the ending that audience is going to take and remember that. And that's where this idea came up of Charuk had to let Rani go. While we're doing that, there has to be a parting gift. What do we do? We were thinking about it. And then we came up with this beautiful idea that as he's going, he's giving her that levy. And her mood is changed. Because, all this fight started for a simple sweet called levy. She takes it and goes. And in return, when he's not expecting anything, suddenly you see that flute.
It was an emotional and tough scene to do. Letting go of someone you love because you trust in them relieves you of a lot of weight and burden and also strengthens you to know that they can do this.
I always knew you were meant for bigger things. It's time you take that path now.
The bandits ride for?
Feast and wonder.
We're going to play the reel before that. I wanted to thank everybody for giving me opportunity to be here. I think we are a very media shy company. We don't do a lot of talks about what we do. But this particular film, I'm making an effort to reach out to audience, to reach out to students, because this is a true way of taking something local and making something global. I hope, if not for our own pride, I hope we are able to inspire people here to think bold, that we are a country with traditions, with stories, with legends, with folklores, everything that exists. We have to go through that process of taking that story and putting into the global platform. And there are audiences, and there are people who can take it. And this is the bold effort we do. This film is on Disney Plus, Hotstar. It's on film number 7 in something called as Visions 2. If you've not watched it, please go watch it. If not for us or for me, for my good talks here, I hope. It's at least for everybody that in India or my studio who have put in work to put a film into a global platform. Let's have a quick look at the reel, and if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer. Again, thank you, everybody.
We're almost there.
Can we go home now?
You kids shouldn't be wandering too far from home. These are dark times.
Hey, Rani, look, that's our destination.
Can I play pass flute?
Not now.
We are entering the Jangori settlements.
No.
Get us out of here, kid!
Jaruk, I thought I lost you.
Burnt them all. A Jedi in golak.
Final warning, you maggots.
We should have fought back.
A Jedi in golak.
The bandits ride for?
Feast and wonder.
Thank you, everybody, again. Have a good rest of the festival.
Fantastic. We always wanted to see stormtroopers coming to India. And now you've made sure that has happened. Ladies and gentlemen, so if I could request you to please remain here. Milind, if I could request you to please join us back on stage once again. And if I could request Mr. Ganesh Papana to join us on stage to present a memento from our end to Milind Deshinde, ladies and gentlemen, founder and CEO of 88 Pictures. Mr. Ganesh, sir, I'm not going to let you go. Because we have something very, very interesting that is happening next. Yeah? Anything and everything. Could we please have the mic on? 1 second. 2, check. Yes.
So, thank you, Pallavi. I mean, always that